There's just so many moments throughout our daily lives that I don't think we realize what an important part of having perspective and understanding could truly do to open up our eyes and to ease anxiety, to curb fear, and to really just allow for us to be in the world and be present, not to be daunted by everybody else's problems, but to just truly see them and understand them and be able to observe them almost in a way that's outside of ourselves. Because I think
Hey, Amy, welcome to Resilient Entrepreneurs Podcast. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to have an exciting conversation about business and entrepreneurship and networking and community and so many other things. I'm sure we'll touch on marketing since we're all in that sphere and all the things that hopefully entrepreneurs will take tons and tons of great stuff from. So thanks for joining us. Welcome.
absolutely, it's great to be here. Thanks, Laura. Thanks, Vicki.
Yay, thanks. Well, we kick off this podcast with a big question, and that is, if I were to hand you a magic wand today, what change would you like to see in the world?
I would love to see all of us have the magical ability to instantly understand, to completely empathize, whether there's barriers of gender, race, language, just to be able to be in that moment and be able to hear someone, see someone, and just truly see them and understand them. I think that would be a big way to solve a lot of our problems in this world. So that's what I would use my magic wand for.
Amy for president. Only with that magic wand. That's a beautiful wish.
Right. Yes. I need the wand
It's a
first.
beautiful wish. I think it speaks to the core of humanity, doesn't it? Where if we just took a moment to understand the other person, life could be a whole lot more peaceful.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. We're all just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, it's a great wish. Why is that important to you?
I think just because it touches on so many things, right? I think as women especially, which I know is a lot of your listening audience, we don't live a million separate lives. We live one big life with many, many parts and pieces. And whether we're standing alongside another mom doing school pickup, trying to look at and talk to our partners, sitting in a conference room with somebody that feels adversarial or that's not for you, walking down the street, not necessarily feeling safe. There's just so many moments throughout our daily lives that I don't think we realize what an important part of having perspective and understanding could truly do to open up our eyes and to ease anxiety, to curb fear, and to really just allow for us to be in the world and be present, not to be daunted by everybody else's problems, but to just truly see them and understand them and be able to observe them almost in a way that's outside of ourselves. Because I think oftentimes the things and the topics we talk about for women, like, imposter syndrome and burnout, a lot of these trigger words that keep getting brought up and thrown to us, have a lot to do with the narratives and the stories that we tell ourselves. But all of those stories that we tell ourselves are informed by the outside world. And oftentimes it's through a lack of it's through a lack of communication and or misunderstandings or miscommunication or poor communication, that really just creates and perpetuates a lot of the things that make us feel like it's us against the world versus with the world. And so that's why for women, I think it would be great for the grand scheme of the world and where we are right now, especially in the United States. It would just be, I don't know, it would just be such a breath of fresh air, I think, to be able to have that magical ability. And it's honestly not magic. It takes time and practice and self-awareness and active listening, but those aren't skills that come naturally to everybody. So, that's why it would have to be a magic wish.
Yeah, you're right. And I do think a big part of what you're saying makes
Mhm.
me feel like when we're in the right community of
Yes.
people, it makes communication a lot easier
Mhm.
because often communication is difficult when you're with people that don't
Mhm.
understand, and don't have the same background or don't have the
Yes.
same, maybe they're not an entrepreneur and you are, and you're trying to explain to them, your
Right.
struggles, and they just go,
Yeah.
well, just get another job then, right?
Mhm.
So a lot of that happens when we're not in the right
Mhm.
spaces. So tell us about communities that you've built, because that's a big part of what you do.
It absolutely is. Great segue, Laura. Yes, community, it is. It is a shortcut to connection. Networking is a shortcut cut to connection. Connection's something we're all wired for. There's a great study out there by the Surgeon General that talks about the loneliness epidemic and how Gen Z is the loneliest generation, due to, kind of a continued fragment society, digital experiences only. You can basically never leave your house and still get food and groceries. You could still quote unquote, meet people online. There's so much disconnect, and it's really affecting our mental and also our physical health. The Surgeon General says that perceived isolation, just feeling like you're alone, even when you're in a crowded room, is the same as smoking 15 cigarettes a day, and can shorten your life by up to 15 years. We are hardwired for connection. It's a part of how we survive. It's always been how we survive. Those who connect and stay together, they might not go fast, but they will go farther, and they live longer. I mean, even down to like friendships, there's a ton of stats around friendships and connections and belonging and how that prolongs our life. But instead, we just look at the latest fads and juices and like supplements and all those things, and hydrate. Those are all important and great, but we really discount the importance of community and what it can do for us. And not just from a career and a business standpoint, but really from a standpoint of our livelihood. So for me, community became really abundantly important when I became a mom. I was working as a creative director at an advertising agency, working 60, 70 hours a week, traveling a lot. And all of a sudden, I had this new life in my arms. And, moms pay the penalty, right? We pay the penalty for becoming the parent. Men will get a promotion because now they have a family to support, whereas women will get passed over for promotions and opportunities like I did. Because, well, now you're a mom, your priorities are different. Hell, if I had half of the productivity that I have, abilities that I have now that I'm a parent before I was a parent, oh my gosh, I don't know what I did. I had so much more reason to care about my job. I had so much more reason to work hard for the money that I made. And, it was hard because, as women climb towards the top of any company or industry, it gets lonelier because there's less women and definitely less moms. And so for me, it came about, I was on LinkedIn, and I got a random message from a woman that I had never met before, who said, I'm creating this organization. It was then called Women in Digital. And it was for women in my industry who, wanted to connect and grow and thrive together. And this is like at the height of the Me Too movement. So this is 10, womp womp, 10 years ago, in 2016. And I was working full time. I had she was probably by then 2.5, 3 years old. I was pregnant with my second kiddo, actually, my son, and caretaking for my mom and working these crazy hours. And she was asking me to volunteer to help run a board and start a chapter in Cincinnati. I had every reason in the world to say, no, I don't have time for that. But the thing about community is that it's the thing that gives time back. And I think people think it takes too much time, but it gives time back because now you have connection, you have belonging, you have resources, you have support. And that's what's going to carry you through the hard things. So I joined Women in Digital, now Together Digital, volunteered for about 2.5 years, really felt like I found my space where I could talk about the duality of being an ambitious woman and, wanting to run a company someday while also being a damn good mom, which is hard to do. And so, not having people around me, I had to be like one person at work, one person at home, and one person everywhere else in between for whatever everybody else needed me for. But this group felt like a space where I could talk about everything, work, life, family, what have you. And that was different. And I just really found strength in that. And I saw the women around me finding strength in that. And I kind of just leaned wholeheartedly into it. So people are like, how do you find time? I'm like, I don't find time. Like, I make time. I am deliberate about this because this is connection for me is a form of self-care. Self-care doesn't have to be, it's not selfish, and it's not something you have to do alone. And so, being a part of the community for 2.5 years, I loved it. And I was given the opportunity by the founder to run the company, kind of out of the blue, pulled me aside in the hallway at the national conference and was like, I'm running for Congress. And I thought, oh, that's amazing. But what about this? Like, we need this. And she says, yeah, you've always wanted to run a company. You're training all the boards on how to operate because yours is doing the best. Like, run this company. And so, yeah, super scary. I had been, I worked, got the title I wanted, got the salary I wanted, realized very quickly, as a lot of us do, you get the title, you get the salary, you're like, this sucks. I don't like this. Like, the title didn't make me happy. The money didn't make me happy. Why did I work so hard for this? And so I took the leap into entrepreneurship, kind of both feet. And, kudos to the founder for believing in me and giving me that chance and encouraging me to take such a big leap and to, again, the women at Together Digital and my partner. It really made all the difference. If I would have left it to my own self to decide, I probably would have stood in like analysis paralysis forever. But really, people showed up and encouraged me, and that's what helped me take that leap. So that was kind of my first big experience with community, because I'll be honest, for those who are listening and probably can relate to this, I did not like or trust women for a very long time. I was bullied by girls when I went to elementary school. My dad's from Egypt. I went to a school in the middle of nowhere. I was about as brown as you could get, which is not very brown if you can't see me. But it was a struggle. I got picked on and made fun of a lot. And it was all by other girls. And so I was like, you know what? The dudes, if they're going to be jerks to you, at least they're going to say it to your face. Girls were so subversive, and it was so subtle. Definitely the Mean Girls vibe. And that wasn't my vibe. And so I think another thing is that coming back into community with women really helped heal me and heal a lot of those childhood wounds and learn how to have trust again. And because of it, I mean, I'm going to a little celebratory dinner I decided to throw for myself for opening up a second business we'll talk about here in a moment. And 90% of those women came from this community. And it's hard to make friends as adults, but I think community is another, like I said, it's that shortcut. It's going to help you find the right people. And like you said, Laura, getting into the right room with the right people, it just makes all the difference in the world. So I really encourage the listeners that are here to just take the time, see it as self-care, and be deliberate about the time that you're taking and spending, and make sure it is the right room. You're allowed to walk out of the rooms that aren't for you. Really. That's permission slip right there. Signed, ready to go at all times.
Jeez, what a beautiful. Oh, you've hit on so many things there. Yeah, as you were talking, I was making a couple of notes. It's like, okay, I want to ask, how did you know and decide to prioritize you? That's probably my first question out of that, because that's what it took there for all of that to play out. And then I also want to touch on the borrowed belief that others had in you and people saw in you, and how we can really lean in on that from each other.
Hey there, sorry for the interruption, but if you're a woman entrepreneur ready to raise your profile, expand your reach, and start being seen as the expert you already are, we have a challenge for you. Vicky and I have created a free guide called the LinkedIn to Latte Method. Check it out in the link below. It's designed especially for women who are done playing small and are ready to attract opportunities, clients, and increase your visibility. No tech overwhelm, no awkward call DMs, just clear, authentic strategy that works. So download the free LinkedIn to Latte guide below, take the challenge, and start turning your brilliance into real opportunities. Now, back to the episode.
Yeah. I would say, as I've gotten older, and thank God for being past 40 there, I read once in a magazine that it was like the age of certainty. And I was like, in my 20s, I was like, I can't wait to get there. And so like somewhere in my head, I think I've always had this thought that by the time I'm 40, I will have lived enough of my life and know enough about myself to be clear. And then the duality is that as you approach and go beyond 40, you also become less visible, which is kind of also nice, because now I'm like, I don't got to give a crap about what people say or think, because yeah, they don't notice me half the time anyways. But for me, I think don't discount your intuition. I didn't the best moments of my life and the best opportunities I've ever been a part of or given or shared or received is just because I followed my gut. And I think oftentimes as women, we're told it's woo, it's too feminine, it's not the way you do things. But learning and understanding when my body is responding to something before my head even has a moment to catch up, um, as scary as it might be, trusting my intuition has just really brought me some of the best things in life. And it's a great process to go through because it's kind of scary as hell at first, but the more you do it, the more you learn to trust it and the more that comes your way. This also comes into play within human design. If any listeners are out there into human design, I'm definitely sacral if you can't hear it in the way that I'm talking about all these things. So for me, that's my source of authority for decision making is if I feel it, I'm going to go. And it's really served me well. Whereas we're often conditioned as a society and especially as women to really overthink pros and cons list. Girls, how many times have we done the pros and cons list? And sometimes we just need to step away from all of that and just kind of go with our gut. So that's kind of my answer to question one. Question two, that borrowed belief. I love that term. Um, you know, there's a duality. I think you have to truly believe in yourself first. I don't think you just, bank on borrowed belief only. I think that borrowed belief is earned. I don't think it can be just given willy nilly. And so I would never discount in myself to say that I didn't believe I could do it, or that I wasn't going to try to do it, no matter what other people said, because that's just kind of me too. But it definitely helps. There was a moment when it came time to decide if I wanted to buy Together Digital or maybe move on. And that was really scary. And one of my close mentors and friends he asked me, Amy, like, what do you really want? And I was like, oh, and I knew it right away. It popped into my head. I said, I want to buy the whole damn business. I want all of it. And he's like, there's your answer. So I think it's having people that believe in you is really important. But I would also say surround yourself with people who ask really good questions. Because that's what Timmy did for me is he just really asked the right question at the right time. And the answer was there within me. But yeah. And I do love borrow belief. I think there's a lot to that. Having people that support you, believe in you, and encourage you when things get scary it's so essential, but don't let it supplant or overcome your own true belief in yourself.
Yeah, I think that's like the perfect mix you described there is when you do feel confident within yourself to make decisions that are right for you because they feel right within you, but you've also got almost like your own board of directors, be
Mm-hmm.
that, community members,
Yep.
mentors, like you said, coaches are another good one. People just can look in from the outside and give you sort of
Yes.
that bigger perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that when you're feeling a bit unsure can help you kind of, figure out which
Yeah.
path is right for you. Because I feel like
Mm.
life is just that. It's figuring out the path. And often it's carving your own path, especially when
Yes.
you're choosing entrepreneurship
Yeah.
as as a business, right?
That's a choice.
Decision. It's a choice. And it's not an easy one. It's not
No.
an easy one. This path
Mm-mm.
is not easy. This journey is not easy. But when we get the right people around us, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it makes it, I think, more fun too. You know?
Oh, absolutely. Everything's more fun when you're doing it with other people. Like, I think that's one thing I've learned over the last several years in kind of going the route of entrepreneurship, right? I went from agency with loads of resources and big teams and big clients and big budgets to small mission-based business community where I was holding a lot of space for a lot of people, plus the weight of a company and the pandemic that shifted a lot of what we do and how we did it, shifting founder to like new owner. There's so much within that was hard. And, I think when things get really, really hard, sometimes I'm not saying keep it in. I'm saying the best thing to do is to kind of go inward and really, you know, ask yourself the hard questions, so that you have clarity. Because I think clarity is what brings courage, right? If I don't feel clear about why I'm doing something, I'm not going to be super decisive about it. Whereas if something comes my way, and I'm like, gosh, this is in alignment with my values. This is getting me in the direction that I want to go. Um, it's an easy yes. And if I'm not clear on and if I'm clear on those things, it also makes no's a lot easier, right? Which we have a hard time doing, right, friends? Boundaries and saying no and making no a complete sentence. But I think when you have that sense of self and clarity and values and you're there and you get that, it makes what comes your way that is a no. But then once yes, hell yes. And that just makes, again, like it kind of just shortcuts that process of overthinking and overanalyzing and
Yeah, I
whatnot.
love that clarity brings courage, and that's such a great statement. You need to, like, put that above there.
I'll add
Put
it to
that
my
somewhere. That's
repertoire.
fantastic.
I've got a number of little quotes that I've said. I'm like, oh, that's
No,
good. Let's
that's a
keep that.
really good
Like
one.
another one is don't get furious, get curious is another
Mm.
favorite one of mine. I think oftentimes that leans into the understanding, Vicky, that we were talking about earlier of like, it's so easy to get frustrated. You're like, why did they say this? Why do they do this? Why is the world this way? And I think, clarity, understanding, it's so, as women, we're told to repress the anger, right? Don't get mad, ladies. Don't get angry. But oh my gosh, it's also my favorite movie quote. Speaking of quotes, is like the Hulk when Bruce Banner, they're like, how do you control Bruce? How do you manage the rage of the Hulk? And he turns around and looks at him and he says, because I'm always angry. And I was like, oh yeah, I feel that. I'm always angry. But I think acknowledging that, knowing that, and understanding that, when I start to get ragey and I start to go Hulk mode, it's like, okay, let's just turn on the Bruce banner and let's get curious, right? He's a scientist. Like, let's get curious. Let's ask the
Mm.
questions. So that's another one of mine that I love. But yeah, I will definitely add the courage one too.
That's a good one. So I want to ask you, because you mentioned a few minutes ago about, being in this stage of life where part of you is invisible and feels invisible, and the other part like doesn't really
Yeah.
care what other people think. I think it's I love this stage of life
Right?
too, personally. But so and we work with a lot of people on personal
Mhm.
branding, right? It's a focus we have right now. We have a membership devoted to
Cool.
personal branding and a system in place for it. So let's talk about personal
Mhm.
branding a little bit, because that's exactly it, right? When you're at this stage
Yeah.
of life, but you need a personal brand, especially if you're a business owner, you're a founder, you're out there, you're
Mhm.
talking on podcasts, right? So you
Mhm.
get it. You know the value of it. You have your own podcast as well.
Yeah.
So you know the value of this for founders to be talking about
Mhm.
themselves as much as they're talking about their business.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about that this stage of your life? Like, and what steps have you taken to increase or raise your personal profile?
Yeah. It's funny. I'm a writer by trade. I was a copywriter, creative director in my past life. And so there's always something about the semantics of language that I either love or hate. And there's something about personal brand being a marketer that kind of sometimes falls inauthentically for me, if I'm being honest, because I think that in past, because another term that drives me up a freaking wall is executive presence. It's like nails on a chalkboard for me. And I think because what personal brand and executive presence implies for me is that I have to move into a box. I have to take myself and brand myself, which means putting on a mask, being something that I want other people to see or believe about me versus me truly knowing myself and then projecting my truest self out into the world. Because what's the beautiful thing about, you know, really understanding your most truest voice and authentic self is then it doesn't become a front. It just becomes the way you move in the world. And then you attract the right people, the right opportunities, because when they hear you, they're going to hear you. And if you're for them, they're in. If you're not, great. You can't be for everyone, anyways. And so for me, and I'll definitely take a look at your all's program and your programming. But for me, I really love it when personal brand starts at the core of really taking a time to understand who you really are and what are your values and where do you want to lend your voice to the most. Because again, that shedding of like, I don't care what other people think about me is their business, not mine. It sounds counterintuitive, but I cannot tell you how much it's actually helped me get more podcast appearances, speaking opportunities, job opportunities, because I leaned into volunteering for an organization because I give a damn about women at work and I want them to get paid the same, if not better than men. I want to see them treated the same. I want them to have the same opportunities. And that became a passion point for me, which led to owning a business, which has now led to starting and opening another business. Because I think the more you lean into who you truly are and what you care about, it's not work. Personal brand also sometimes sounds like work to me, where I'd rather just say, let's learn how to be you, the best version of you, find out what you have to offer the world, and that's what you promote. That's what you talk about. That's what you share. And it even makes like speaking easier, right? Like you jump on a podcast, they're like, okay, well, let's just talk. And I'm like, cool, I can fill an hour. What do you want to talk about? Because those tracks are always there. And so I would say those who are looking to kind of build their sense of self and their personal brand, however they want to kind of talk about it, execute it. I think it is really digging in, knowing yourself, knowing your values, and then exercising those in real life in any way possible. And that could be an audience of 100, and that could be audience of one. Oh my gosh, those are my favorite, right? Small rooms, big conversations. So it doesn't personal brand doesn't have to be a huge endeavor. I think it's an ongoing journey. It's an evolution of you finding who you truly are and finding the best way to voice that in the world. And that's going to look different for every single person, right? The extroverts of the world, the introverts, the omniverts, the ambiverts, the Enneagram types. Like there's so much intersectionality of who we are and how we are in the world. And I think once you understand what matters to you and what you have to offer the world, to me, that's the combination of what gets you out there and noticed. Because from then, it's just a matter of consistency. It's showing up and being consistent on those things. Because again, it's not hard to fake it. It's not hard to forget it when it's what you truly believe.
Juicy answer. Love it. And very much aligned with how we share personal branding.
I
Yeah.
love it.
And I'm now, my curiosity's peaked. It's like, now I want to brainstorm what else we could call it. But maybe we'll do that.
I know, right? Yeah, I want to give it new language
because
all the
when we
time.
talk about
Same thing with executive presence.
yeah, exactly.
Go ahead.
And when we talk about personal branding, it's effectively, especially for women, first seeing and then showing your greatness.
Mm-hmm.
In a nutshell,
Yeah,
that's what
exactly.
personal branding is, right? It's first see your own greatness
Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
own it, and then show it.
I love
Yeah.
it. Yeah, simple as that. Yeah, I agree. I think it sounds like it should be harder, but it's as simple as that, really. And it's scary at first. I think, I was laughing actually just a few moments ago, coming off my last call because I had perimenopause, no sleep the night before. I looked a mess. And then I forgot that I was going to be on a live podcast with like in studio that was going to have all these recordings and clips done. And I was so not ready. I even forgot until like 2 hours before. I was like, oh crap, I got to get around. Luckily, the studio was close. Like I go around the corner and record this. And I joke sometimes. I'm like, I think I just blacked out. I just said the things. And I think because I was a little dysregulated and tired and whatever, I just shared. I mean, not that that's not my normal self, but I was like, oh, here's how it is. The guys came around for our open house of our co-working space and we're like, your podcast has gone viral. You've gotten 440,000 views. And I'm like, oh my God, no, I look such a mess. And I was like, I don't even remember what I said. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the beauty of living in authenticity is one, it feels really good. And two, like it has results. Like you're not going to stand out in the world by trying to look and be like everybody else. So just stop trying. It's wearing you out. It's wearing us all out.
Oh, and it's not aligned with who you are. That's why we get burnt out, because we're trying to do something that we're not
100%.
aligned with. If we don't know what our values are, I mean, so often you see people living different values to what they actually value. I mean, how
Right?
can that not lead to burnout?
100% right there. Nail on the head. 100%, Becky. You're
Tell us
right.
about the co-working space, Amy.
Yeah, I think
Is your newest baby
Absolutely.
excitement in the business? Come on, share the joy.
Right? Birthing more babies and more businesses. Yeah, it was incredible. At the beginning of the year, this is like fun, like story of just like gut and intuition. I had really been hungering 6 years working from home, kids at school, husband back at work full time, a lot of shifts within the family. I'm in perimenopause, my husband's in his mid 40s and we got a preteen. So yeah, just house on fire right now. But
all the
All the
things.
things. It's great. We love it. But I was really missing in person and people. And even though I run a community that I've really made some of the best friends that I've ever had in my life that don't even live in the same country as me because of our Together Digital community. Um, I just still miss that sense of teamwork and environment and space. And, beauty of entrepreneur is I don't have to enforce back to office policies like some of these poor folks right now. I'm sorry for you guys that are being forced in 5 days a week or just having to choose to move somewhere that you didn't sign up to move because you got hired while it was remote. Anyways, I had kind of just been thinking about this and I was like, maybe I just start looking for my next thing. And I got to kind of looking and ended up being approached by this community that is co-working, and they were like, "We're just looking for community builders. We want to franchise and expand, and Cincinnati's a place we have our eye on." And I was like, "Cool, let's meet when you get together. When you get to Cincinnati, I'll show you around the city, introduce you to some people." I didn't really think much of it, but as we were sitting there, it became very clear that they had me in mind for franchising. And I was like, well, I've definitely been wanting and yearning for something back in person again. And co working feels right. I run a membership organization right now. And we looked it over and I was like, yo, that's a lot of money to front for a franchise. Like, I run a mission-based business, friends. Like, I don't know. I said, but if you found me an investor in a ready-made space, then we could talk. 1 week later, they're like, we want to introduce you to this guy. I was like, okay. They're like, do you know Jim Price? And I started laughing and they're like, what? Do you know him already? I was like, no, but he literally owns the building that my husband works out of and is an investor in their company. And yeah, I know about his legacy and his mom's legacy. She started an agency back in the 80s, ran it. He took over for about 6 years, got burned out, threw everything he had into it, including this really beautiful physical space, and then got burned out and sold it. The people that were within decided to move out of the building, and the building was sitting empty for about a year and a half. And it was just this really intentionally designed space that has a podcast studio, a content studio, a theater space for practicing pitches, collaborative spaces, and all this. And it's just like, there's little placards on the wall about the different pieces of art and like the design. It's all there. And when we met the first time, we talked a lot about how the shift, well, let me just say really quickly, this was funny because like different walks of life, different worlds here, right? Like I haven't really worked a lot with men in the last 6 years. It's just been me and the ladies. And so when I was introduced to Jim, I'm like, this rich white dude ain't gonna be reaching out to me soon to talk about co-working. He wrote me back right away. And he's like, Amy, like, I know your husband. I invest in Verve. I own the building and I am super interested in getting to know you. He's like, this is crazy because not only that, but I'm sitting at a co-working space right now. And as soon as I got the email, your picture is up on the wall because you're doing a talk here in 2 weeks. He's like, let's meet. Are you free Monday? And this was like a Friday. I was like, what? This is going to happen fast. And so we met, we talked about how our industry has gone gig, fractional, freelance contract. Big agencies that used to be a whole building block with multiple floors, 700 people are now 20 people in one floor. A lot of us are going fractional. We're starting our own agencies. And, he had said when he sold, he wanted the company to always be an unholding company. And I said, well, what if this was an unagency for independents, like independent agencies, freelancers, contractors, and even remote folks who are kind of like on their own little remote island for their company could work and have all the amenities of a big agency, in their own space. But then we can also work and collaborate together in the ways I get to see us do it together digital that actually grows businesses. And he was like, oh my God, I love it. Let's do it. And so like that was the end of May. By the middle of July, we had our contract agreement signed and business model set and business plan together and started working on it. And then October 15th, so last week, from our recording here, we had an open house. Set up the systems, did the website, the marketing, the social, the promotion, and we've started selling office spaces, dedicated work desks, hot desks, private offices, and custom built offices, with 2 large tenants, actually 3 now, actually on the 3rd floor where I am now. And yeah, for me, it's just like it just felt like the next right thing. Thanks, Anna from Frozen. In the sense that, like I said, when it's not about like carving the path becomes easy when you, again, follow that gut, follow the intuition, follow the passion, and, take the opportunities when they come. I mean, Jim could have just been like, well, maybe you might be the right person for this. But I literally put in front of him the second time I met him the brand, the position, the voice, the mission, the model. And he was like, oh my gosh, let's do it. I could have waited, I could have held back, but I was like, no, I'll just ask for the no. I will just put what I'm thinking out there. And if he likes it, he likes it. If he doesn't, that's okay. And he loved it. And so now he's my business partner and our investor. And it's been just really great to be able to work with him and then bring sort of all of these fragmented people that we worked with over the years at our different agencies together again in different ways, whether they're co-working here or hosting events here. And it's right in the heart of downtown Cincinnati and over the Rhine, which is like a super creative space. So yeah, and it's also where Together Digital is headquartered now. So it was just bizarre. It happened again. Once you understand your intuition and you trust it, like talk about a 180. If you'd asked me last year if I'd be running a co-working space and business, I would have said, yeah, no. Same thing with Together Digital. I never thought I would be running a business, but here I am.
Oh my God, it's such a beautiful story. I love it so much. And there's so many lessons in what you just said.
Thanks.
Because you listen to the alignment, it was so perfectly aligned, right? The amount of like connection to get you to this is crazy. And then also, even though we don't like personal brand anymore, but you had built your personal brand because you were speaking at the place where he was when he was making the decision, and your face was like, so literally his alignment was perfect, your alignment was perfect, and then it all just came together and you just said yes.
Yeah.
And then I think the biggest lesson for a lot of people too is that success loves speed, and you moved fast, and that speed, right? But if you had hesitated, if you had put the brakes on, if you had delayed the, branding that you had suggested and all of that, it would have slowed everything down and you wouldn't be where you are right now. And it might not have worked out.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, action, we so underrate action and so overrate the thinking and the analyzing. I'm not saying I don't love those things. I do. I'm a digital by nature, grew up in the digital age where everything creative was measured. I mean, that's kind of what I loved about it. But yeah, I mean, you gotta, sometimes it's not always about the data. It's about trusting that gut. And honestly, your gut's informed by all that anyways, whether you realize it or not. So it's definitely a part of the factor.
Yeah. I mean, and being in marketing, analysis and data is such a part of what you do and what you always do. And it is important. I love looking at data. Like I love a bit of research. Like I get so excited at that kind of stuff, but you can't discount the feeling. And I think that's what social media has really taught us. It's not just about numbers. It's about how you make people feel. It's about the emotion. It's about what you can pull and all of this. And those who are real and those who are authentic and those who just show up repeatedly, consistently, win. Like, and you see it over and over again. And those who are putting on the facade and the filters and all the other things burn out because it's hard. It's hard to always be in that space. You're taking this is the easy route. That's what people, don't want to think. They want to slap it on and be perfect, which is not
no.
But perfection, right? Like that's the thing that holds so many people back. They wait for perfection. They wait for everything to feel exactly right rather than going for it. Sometimes the going for it isn't it? And sometimes you fail, right? The reality is sometimes you fail too.
Yeah. Well, and it makes
So how about you? You have any great failure stories?
What's that?
I was going to say, do you have any good failure stories? Because we love a good failure story.
Oh, of course. But I wanted to say really quickly, it's like I'm thrown up there with my other Amyisms, is that, feelings are some of the biggest data points that we discount. And they're the most powerful points of data that we have. So yeah, just remember that and don't discount the feelings. It's like, I mean, the Maya Angelou quote, right? People will forget what you said, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. Like that's it right there. But yeah, failure. No, I love talking about failure.
Sure.
Am I allowed to cuss? I forgot to ask before we even started. I've been holding back. It's the name of an event, and it's called Fuck Up Nights, and it's literally about groups of creatives, mostly agency people, who get together and really talk about the ways in which they fucked up. And I actually did, before I even knew about this group, I was going to speak to a bunch of university students, and had decided that I was going. My talk was like 5 ways I fucked up, and I asked the teachers, I was like, "Can I?" And I'll just say effed up. They're like, no, they're college students. It's fine. They'll enjoy it. For me, failure, another quote again, all the quotes. This one's Nelson Mandela. Not I only win or I learn something. And I think it's all, again, about back to data. It's all about learning. It's all about understanding. Yeah, no, I've definitely stepped in it. I've definitely made missteps. I've definitely tried things that, didn't go as well as I had hoped. But every single time I walked away with some new learning. And it's kind of funny because now that you ask me, even, I don't even remember, this was years ago that I did that 5 ways thing, but I don't even remember what they all were. But a lot of it was just, I don't know. I think we get more hung up on our failures than anybody else. Nobody notices. It's kind of like when you put on the bikinis, lady. Ain't nobody looking at you as hard as you're looking at you. So just wear the damn bikini if you want. I mean, my most favorite recent one that I shared with a bunch of YP folks at an AMA event that I was on the panel for was I've never managed a building before. I don't know what it costs to paint walls because I don't have enough money to pay people to paint my walls. I paint my own damn walls. So when I got a quote for $2,500 to paint 11 rooms, I thought, what a deal. And I signed it. And then I realized that quote was per room and I had 11 rooms. And I had to sit down with my business partner and be like, hey, buddy, I had a slight oversight because I'm like, what can I do? I can't hide it. The painting is done. And now I'm like, this is what happened. And this is what I've learned. And this is what I'm going to do to make it better. And he was like, I get it. I understand. He's like, neither of us have done this before. We're figuring this out. And you're going to be, I mean, and now I am. He didn't even say this to me. This is me talking to me at this point saying, you're going to be looking a lot harder, Amy, at the estimates. And you're going to actually have him and or your community manager now looking at all estimates before you approve them, because it's all learning, And so there was really no point in me. I mean, I kept harping on about it because I was really more just hammering home the joke. But it's like, yeah, don't take yourself so seriously. At the end of the day, we were going to have those walls painted and it was going to cost money. So it's like, okay. And now I just know I need to look at the details a little bit better. So yeah, that was my most recent one that I love to share. But yeah.
Love it. Love it. I love it. It's interesting how the greatest learnings are quite often the expensive ones.
Right. Yeah. I know. I wish that they weren't, but they do
Yeah,
tend to be the most expensive. You're right, Vicky.
I have a feeling like it's part of the equation. The more it ouches, then the
Yeah.
more deeply the lesson
Yeah.
sinks in. So I love that for you.
100, because then are you less likely to do it
Yeah,
again, right?
very cool. Very cool. Thank you for sharing your stories and your experiences and your heart and you. You
My
demonstrate
pleasure.
personal branding so beautifully, if I may say so.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. You don't have to abandon personal branding forever, guys. It's okay. I just, like I said, I want people to understand the
Mm,
qualms and so that we can go deeper than that. And I feel like based on what you guys are saying and what we've been talking
yeah.
about before, during, and even now, we're definitely in an alignment there. So,
Yeah, I think it's a permission based thing, isn't it? Because the other way of thinking about it is influencer,
mhm.
and then people say, "I don't want a personal brand because I don't want to be an influencer." Yet, honey, you're influencing every moment of your
Yeah.
day. Every person you speak to, you're influencing them some way. So
Yeah.
be intentional about it.
Hmm.
It's going to happen either way.
Yes.
So use it well. That's why I
Hmm.
like to think about influence.
I love that. Yeah, that's a great way to frame it up. And I think that was some of my favorite advice for when I was speaking was that I was a part of this program called Heroic Public Speaking. And Michael got up on stage and was like, you have to remember in every opportunity that you have the chance to speak, it's not about you. It's about the people that are on the other side listening. So for those of you who do feel that pressure, because even I feel that, like, I don't want to be in the spotlight. I was a creative director. I wanted to be behind the camera, not in front of the camera. But at the end of the day, you all have something to offer the world. You have gifts, wisdom, experience, no matter where you are in your life or career to give. And I think thinking about it in that way and that shift of it's not about me. It's not about me. It's about reaching others and helping others. And that just makes it that much more fun. And it takes that kind of pressure off, at least I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always found that if I've ever had to speak or do a workshop or webinar or something like that, it's when I shift into what can I teach
Mm-hmm.
mode and turn into like
Yeah.
a teacher
Mm-hmm.
rather than just Laura, who's like, the presenter. Like Laura,
Yeah.
the teacher, is a lot more giving, a lot more interactive, a lot
Mm-hmm.
more interested and curious. All the
Yeah.
things that we've said today about, what are they getting? Am I giving enough? And it's you think about that rather than yourself, and you get out of that self-conscious
Yes.
head, where
Uh-huh.
we're overthinking. Do I look funny? Do I sound funny? Is my,
Right?
all this.
Like I said, I looked and probably sounded pretty gritty up there on that
Went
podcast, but
viral.
it didn't
Show
stop
up
the
in your pajamas,
downloads.
ladies, and go viral.
I know, right?
Maybe I should
Brilliant.
next time.
Well, I don't know if I go that far quite, but leaning into our quirkiness,
Yeah.
leaning into our whatever it is that makes us unique,
Mhm.
and just letting that part of us shine, because
Yeah.
that's what people want. I think we
Mhm.
want human, like you were saying earlier, you want connection
Mhm.
now more than ever. And we're
Mhm.
starting to wake back up to how important that is. Even those of us who, self-proclaimed introverts,
Yeah.
we need it too. We want it too. And
Mhm.
like you, that one-on-one, that deep conversation, this type of
Yeah.
space to
It's
have
the
a
best.
conversation is the absolute best, because we can get real, we can get deep, we can
Yeah.
talk about real important stuff that matters. And I hope anyone eavesdropping right now is taking something from this as well, because you've dropped so many gems, so many great quotable quotes. I'm never going to forget that clarity brings courage. I love
Mhm.
that so much. Put it on a mug, put it on a t-shirt.
Love
I
it.
think it's a good one. Yeah. And I just want to thank you so much for a fantastic, awesome, exciting conversation with lots of gems for everyone listening, for sure. So thanks, Amy. It's been amazing.
Of course. No, happy to be here.